Meeting is being recorded.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Industry Insights webinar, Governance Strategies and Data Modernization. This is the third webinar in the Transforming Leadership webinar series, which is focused on navigating security, governance, and organizational excellence. My name is Lene Oakleyhaven at EDUCAUSE, and I'll be your host for today's event. The content for this webinar is provided by Vantage, a 2026 EDUCAUSE strategic partner. EDUCAUSE is working closely with Vantage this year to strengthen the collaboration between private industry and higher education institutions and evolve the higher education technology market. Please be on the lookout for other opportunities to connect with Vantage throughout the year. EDUCAUSE is pleased to welcome today's panelists. They will introduce themselves in just a moment, but first let me give a brief orientation on our session's learning environment. If you are using social media, please use the hashtag EDUCAUSEwebinar. We hope you'll join us in making the session interactive. To open the chat, click on the chat icon at the bottom of the presentation window. You can use the chat to make comments, share resources, or pose questions to our presenters. Be sure to select everyone from the drop-down menu to engage with all of us here today. We encourage you to type your questions into the chat throughout today's webinar. If you have any technical issues, please direct a private message by selecting panelists in the chat dropdown. The session recording will be archived later today on the EDUCAUSE website. Thank you for joining us here today. And with that, let's begin. Over to you, Susan.
Thanks, Lene. Hi, Susan Featherston. I'm a senior strategic consultant with Vantage. Before Vantage, I spent over a decade in higher education on campuses and research, IT, analytics, data management. And now with Vantage, for about 4 years now, I've been able to work with clients on some challenging things around data strategy, data governance, and IT governance. So I'm going to pass it over to Hector.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hector Molina here from Fayetteville State University, Fayetteville, North Carolina. So we're a regional HBCU right in the southeastern corner of North Carolina. So for myself, I'm a 30-year IT veteran, currently serve as the Chief Operating Officer here at Fayetteville State. Started out as the CIO, and then over time evolved into the Chief Operating Officer. Glad to be here with you. Excited about it. Over to you, Dana.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone for joining. I'm Dana Haggis, the Chief Information Officer at Emory University. I'm fairly new in this role as of January, but I've been with Emory for 27 years. Those roles have taken me through application support, data warehousing, and so obviously scope expanded in January. So excited to be able to represent Emory with you all today. Looking forward to the conversations.
Great. Thank you, Dana. So to set the context for your experiences that you're going to share today, do you mind telling us a little bit about your environment, your current ERP, any warehousing that exists or is in the works, and then other advancements around data since you've been there that you'd like to share? Dana, would you like to go first?
Sure, because I'm excited because we're on the cusp of a new ERP, but taking you through our context, PeopleSoft is our ERP currently. We implemented student and HR back in 1998 and eventually financials a little bit later. But with that purchase, we also purchased, I guess it was called EPM at the time, but it's the PeopleSoft warehouses that are the partner product for PeopleSoft data. We implemented that into a warehouse, and that is our primary administrative data warehouse at this time. We had, a lot of missteps, when we implemented, and a lot of that was around creating the momentum around one version of the truth. So we have a lot of fragmented data sources. We have six different admissions platforms. They're all separate. We have 9 different schools, and so everyone was sort of operating in their own path. And so when we were implementing that warehouse, we were hyping it up as one version of the truth. And so what that did was sort of create a little bit of a pullback from some of the schools because they have their version of the truth and they didn't really want to participate in that institutional drive. So that's where we had a little lesson learned in that area. But as I mentioned, we're kind of on the cusp of several things, but we are literally in the final decision points for new ERP. We should know in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited about that. We're looking to do supply chain, healthcare, HR, the finance and grants all at the same time for both Emory University and Emory Healthcare. So for those that may not be familiar, Emory Healthcare is a wholly owned subsidiary of Emory University. So close partnership there. We're aligned in one ERP today, and that's the plan going forward. So that will be a huge project, and we're just really excited to get started. We had really planned to do this transformation. Again, it's big business transformation for us in 2020, and obviously, the pandemic impacted that plan. But we're excited to be there today. From a data warehousing perspective, we have began building a unified data platform using Fabric with Purview as our initial sort of data marketplace that we're using for building that out. And so we're kicking that off. It's very heavily focused on healthcare at this point, and we have some success stories there. And what we're doing is our first success story on the university side is the aggregation of all that administrative data that exists in those different slate instances. So we're pulling all that together in one admissions verified data set. So that's something that we're really excited about. And with this project, we're able to be a little more flexible with bringing in some of our ancillary data systems into both unstructured data, structured and unstructured data lake, and it really is expediting that pipeline to be able to deliver to our partners and get their buy-in, that we've got the stakeholders involved now and able to deliver. So we're really excited about those two big initiatives. And I think ERP data warehouse, I covered that. I will let Hector share for Fayetteville State.
Sure. Thank you, Dana. So for Fayetteville State, we are a Lucian banner shop. So within the UNC system, they do host, from an infrastructure standpoint, a small subset of institutions at the system level, and we are one of those institutions. We've been on Banner, I think it's going on 2 decades now. And right after the pandemic, we had, probably like most of you, we had folks that just decided to move on from the university. And so when that happened, we had a lot of technical expertise that just left, and we could not recoup from that. So we kind of had discussions with the system about, hey, could we look at sort of a managed service type of operation where we would just push it all to the system, let us manage it, and then we would just be functional users of the system. So it took us a little while to get there, but we finally have gotten to that point, and we feel like we're in a better place there. We would love to have a new ERP, but I think we're trying to figure out how to fix what we got, and that requires a lot of partners on campus, whether you're talking the registrar or the folks in finance. I think our challenge institutionally is there's some gaps in knowledge, even on the functional side, right? So a lot of the dependency comes back to IT to say, well, tell us how we're supposed to be using this thing. And that's not we're not a registrar. We're not in the finance area. So it's kind of a frequent back and forth and collaboration that we're kind of working through today. As far as our data warehouse, we don't have one, right? Really, since I've gotten here, since 2022, the focus has been really on focusing on the basics. So do we have a modernized infrastructure? So a few of our peers within the UNC system were subjected to some cyber attacks that really crippled them for not days, but weeks. And so really our focus was not to be that. I mean, we know that it's not if, it's going to be when. But we put a lot of focus on how to shore up the infrastructure that was pretty aged. Got a lot of complaints about Wi-Fi. I'm sure all that you've heard about, Wi-Fi on your campuses. So how do you shore that up, whether it's in the res halls or within the campus academic and administrative buildings? So really what's been the focus is on really shoring up the foundational stuff that your campus needs, the campus or classroom technology, those type things. And so now we're kind of getting to a point where we realize that we want to be what my chancellor likes to say. He likes to make decisions on, facts, data, and details, and trying to create an environment where we make data-driven decisions. Just can't happen right now because we don't have a warehouse. We have a lot of pockets, a lot of sources on campus. I don't even think we have a true inventory of all of the systems that have our data. So we're trying to work through what that is. We have moved towards a more of a cloud-friendly environment. Not that cloud is always cheaper, but we found that if we can push back to the vendors to support these systems, now campus is another, that's a whole thing we could probably have a conversation about that we never suspected would happen. But that's how we decided to kind of manage our operations. So right now I think we're starting from zero, and our focus is not necessarily going to go buy a tool like Fabric or Purview or some other data warehouse tool. It really is, how do we build a data governance program, an IT governance program, and work from there. So that's kind of our environment right now.
Yeah, and listening to both, we haven't really delved into the data governance part yet. And we often see at campuses that we do a great job of writing a policy, we do a great job of a program charter, defining roles and responsibilities, but then it doesn't stall. But if there's no strategy behind that, then it can't really support much. You have the structure there, but you don't know where you're going. So it sounds like you both have some visions on where you're going. Where do you think governance is going to help you, or probably more accurately, where do you think governance is struggling to keep pace?
I'll jump in if you want, Hector. We had an institutional data management policy, that was established probably 10 years ago, and it really defined the roles, the traditional roles of steward and trustee and custodian, and what those roles needed to do. But we really didn't drive home the responsibility that, that this is, a key, it's part of someone's job. So we really almost want to make it now moving forward as, listed as another role that they have and their responsibility. So, I don't really want to say there was no accountability or responsibility in those roles, but a lot of it was lack of understanding. We did have tons of turnover and transformation in our organization in the past, 2 or 3 years. And that really, our governance program took a hit on the university side for sure, because again, like you mentioned, Susan, we've got the charter, we had all of the, the policies out there, but there was really no one championing it for the past 2 years. And so we are now just sort of reestablishing a formal role on our team to be able to sort of drive the technical part of it, as well as having the partner in the provost office that's playing the role for gathering the data definitions and helping work through what often is, we meet resistance from an IT organization when we're trying to drive to get that data from them. We're really, also trying to struggle, balance that centralized governance with the distributed execution. So again, we've got 9 schools. We want to be able to let them have their autonomy, but we have to have that institutional data set. We have to have the institutional definitions. It shouldn't take our provost days to get a count, a final count on admitted students. And so, and it's important, research and just, we all know the importance of that. So, we're really working to design, a program that's a little more robust and create a campaign around why data governance is so important. So there's the data governance from a data definitions, the master data management pieces of it. But then now in this role, I'm a little more, focused on the data protection piece. So, we're folding in sort of the DLP rules and data classification policy. So, we have a policy that's going through our pipeline now to, so that we are very clear on how we classify data and we can put those rules in place. So I don't like to say that we're very, immature, but we really are. I mean, we've been doing this for 10 years, but we've been sort of static for too long. And so we have lots of interest from our board in data governance. And so we've got backing at that level. But I think often it driving the importance of why data governance is, the value it brings to the institution to be able to make those decisions quickly so that it's all clear. And again, we've got all those stewards and owners defined, but we need to have it clear so people understand, who do I go to? Right now, a lot of it is, oh, I know Dana, she's been here 27 years. She'll know who to tell me to. It literally is, probably that informal. So we need to have it very clear, it's documented, and it's a framework that we can all operate in. So that's sort of where we're headed.
So I have a follow-up question for you real quick. Sorry, Hector. Thinking about that one version of truth that you talked about earlier that kind of prohibited y'all in your first attempt, you may not know yet because you haven't started it, but how do you think you can approach looking at working with the campus to say, okay, this is where you can be flexible. Here's where we're all going to agree on this set, and it's not going to impact you, but also drives home the data protection, the access, the risk that at the local level that can occur when people are downloading spreadsheets and sending and emailing, et cetera.
Really just framing it as, it's all institutional, like the data set that we're going to be driving to create is an institutional data set. You can have, if you're the law school and you want to have your data set, that's fine. We'll help you verify that. We'll, help you make that available to whoever. Again, you're the stewards and the owners of that data set. But when we're building out an institutional data set that we want to make available to those, that need this data to make their decisions, it needs to be, fully available, trustworthy, clear definitions. And again, trying to drive that it's the institution's data. And again, we all roll up to the same board. And so I think that, framing it in the way, the value that it's going to bring to our organization as a whole. And then that's the same thing with the risk, is that, one oversight by downloading or making some sort of spreadsheet available could potentially expose the organization and, risk, reputation, all of that. So we're really trying to have a campaign around that as well as we kick this program off again. And I act as if we're actively doing it. Like we are very active on the healthcare side, which is a little easier. It's very regulated. Those definitions are what they are. And, they're for compliance reasons, they're driving a little harder. But for the university, we're really it's going to be a renaissance of our data program. So we're just beginning. Did that answer your question, Susan?
Ma'am. Hector.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate, that is one of the biggest challenges we have. It doesn't exist here at Fayetteville State. I will say, in all transparency, when I got here as the CIO, that was kind of one of the first things I asked about was, what does our data governance program look like? And I think the response was something like, that sounds like a great idea. It's all yours, right? And where I had previously come from, I learned that it had to be an institutional type thing, right? It just could not be an IT thing. And so I really was resistant, I'd say, for almost 3 years. And I will lament to Susan all the time about this when we would have our conversations, but I just felt like that burden shouldn't be all on IT, that it really needed to be institutional wide. And I thought we would come around as an institution, and it did not happen. And then I realized that, okay, for the greater good, IT is going to have to own this. As terrible as it sounds, and it's going to be painful, okay, IT is going to have to own it. Because what we started getting questions about were, well, what are we doing around analytics? And what are we going to do about AI, ensuring our data is in a good quality state so we can leverage these tools? And I said, these are all great questions, but without us having a good program and understanding what the data is that we have, classifications, protection, all that, it doesn't really mean anything. And so we've just kind of reset and started kind of developing somewhat of a plan to kind of push this forward. It's still in a lot of our minds trying to figure out what this is going to look like. We're trying to figure out who are going to be our strategic partners on campus. We kind of have an idea, but bringing those people to the table sometimes is easier said than done, and all coming to agreement. So that's kind of where we are. And maybe I should have started this years ago and didn't necessarily stick to my guns, but we live and we learn. So here we are.
Well, I think we haven't talked about culture, but finding those strategic partners, having the opportunity for this renaissance, Dana, it is a culture change, and that's really challenging, especially if institutions speak that this work is really, really important and it should be prioritized, but there's no resources or finances that can support that effort. It's really challenging.
And I think if I could jump in, I think the acceleration of AI is changing everyone's understanding. So I think people are starting to think bigger now, because that's one of our challenges with data at Emory and probably in many of our organizations, because it's fragmented, it's unstructured. So if you want to leverage AI, those data sets are, it really makes it difficult for you to get, quality responses. And so, you want rapid adoption of AI. It's got to be trustworthy answers. So part of our unified data platform is creating sort of this ecosystem of verified data sets that we can let our models, run on and, point them to that. So I have a question, if I could just address that for the whole group. It's easier for me to talk about it than is that we are definitely in the infancy here when it comes to, AI and our intake process. But what we're hoping to do is create an intake that where we document what are your targeted data sets, so that we can then have a framework that filters you through the data governance framework for getting approvals there. And then if it is security, you go those paths. So we're building out that framework now. But like I said, fully in the infancy, because we're really not monitoring it. We really don't have any monitoring on it at this point. Probably the one thing that's keeping me up. One of the many, but yeah, so that's where we are. Unfortunately, maybe we can have we can be sponsored by Vantage again and have another revisit this in a year. I'll have more stories to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are going to see a lot more data quality conversations, and how to approach those conversations, the programs that can support data quality, because it really is it's not necessarily a strategic effort, it's an operational effort that has to have time, has to have resources, has to have backfill. For example, if the registrar's office doesn't have time to do some sort of quality check, then it's another thing that we often see when like we said, we have the program charter, we have the roles and the responsibilities, and then maybe 3 years down the road, we may consider data quality. But to your point, AI is really going to drive that to the forefront.
And, from a security perspective and data protection, we need visibility into it.
Right.
But we don't want to slow down the innovation, and often we, central IT, we're seeing, as soon as they mention that we're getting involved, eyes roll and it's like, oh, it's going to take forever. So we don't want to be that group. We want to be able to create an intake process that just gets the information we need. We speed them through the gates that they need to go through, and then they're on their way. But that way we at least, check all the boxes that when we wear our risk management hats for the organization, we're doing our job. So, but I do think that people are understanding that risk. And so we are getting less resistance than we've gotten in the past. where we've asked like, no, you can't do that. People understand now, and they don't want to own the risk themselves. And they're like, okay, so we are seeing a shift, and we really think it's that everybody understands there's some exposure there for all of us.
Hector, thinking about AI and how a lot of times we can see campuses, there's this interesting triangle around data literacy, change management, and institutional priorities. And if there's not a ground level understanding of data literacy and what it takes to have that quality data and what it takes to have that shared view of said institutional asset, it can be challenging for folks to say, let's run before we even can crawl. And so for your roadmap that you are working on, how are you balancing that kind of innovation with data literacy or culture change and bringing everyone along with your next steps that you're embarking on?
Yeah, I will admit to Dana's point about being that organization that seems more like a barrier than helpful, like a partner. That was us. I'll just say that. And I think it was from the sheer, I don't want to say panic, but it was just this mad demand from the campus to just have these AI tools. And we really hadn't understood exactly what it all meant and how we were going to like govern it. So the first thing we just did was just like, no, you can't do it, right? And then that's when it got even worse, right? People like, oh, you're stunting innovation, and we're institution, higher learning, all that goes into it. So we've come around to the fact that we do have to let people explore and be innovative. But I think what I'm realizing from a campus is much of the research and stuff that I'm reading really focuses on the teaching and learning side of the house. So as an institution, really, our main focus originally was give me a syllabus statement that I can put in my syllabus so that I can tell students they can't use it or they have to ask permission, and the academic integrity piece. And then the other thing was I need a tool to detect that students are cheating, right? I mean, it was, so we're trying to navigate that. But I realized as a campus that our readiness for the use of AI, whether it's understanding what types of use cases would be applicable to both on the academic side and even on the administrative side, we're just not there. I don't think we're there for the change, and even the capacity to change, right? The efficacy piece of it. So what I think we realize is that we have to put more effort into how to help people become more data literate, the reason for the change, and how to accept the change. Yes, the tools are the tools. We'll have conversations about the tools. But I think as an IT, on the IT side of the house, we're realizing like, how do we get the faculty to understand how to use it from a pedagogy standpoint, or whether it's someone in HR and how to use it and be receptive to using it. I think that's been our focus right now, not so much on the, hey, can I get a Copilot license or a ChatGPT license, or, we still have those conversations, but really we've been trying to figure out how to turn the switch for our campus and being ready to use AI that's useful. And it's going. It's not like because nobody wants to do that work, but they just want to use the tools because it's cool stuff. But we realize that's where we need to focus on.
How do you approach talking to your leadership teams around priorities and what to do next without a data governance committee or something in place? It seems like the decisions on strategy and priorities could get muddled or not, not really clear and succinct, so that again, you can implement your governance with the guardrails, but you have the strategy, which is the journey you're going on and the destination. Dana, how are you prioritizing what you do next?
We're trying to revisit that actually, because we're staffed for the technical support. So we want that, make sure our strategy for building this platform serves the business. And so we have a lot of strong data leads in all of the pockets across campus. There's a lot of central data experts that we lean on, and that they rely on us to provide, the data, the accessible data. And again, we're building out we're calling it the unified data platform right now. Our current administrative data warehouse, as I mentioned, it has the PeopleSoft data. We have a considerable amount of research data in there. There are ancillary data systems that we have brought in, but again, you have to structure them in the current. We use Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition, and so because we are still, we're going to stay on that platform until we make the decision about our ERP. And then after that folds in, what we do for the data that lives in this data warehouse. So we have lots of experienced people that are driving the data strategy from that perspective. But, when we make the decision for the ERP, there's going to be a whole, track that's swim lane specific to rebuilding the foundational data model, the master data management tools that we're going to bring in that we hope to, really accelerate a lot of our data governance. And but we really have, our biggest hindrance is the staff constraints. And so this year was the first year that we received some investment to be able to bring in some resources, both technical and, leadership. And so we do expect that to be a partnership. As Hector mentioned, data, it's not just technical. You've got to have the business need. You've got to have the input when it comes. So we've got a lot of our stakeholders they see the impact of not having data and the inefficiencies that it's created. And so we have their support to move forward and work closely with us on that strategy. So that's sort of how we're partnering right now. It's highly felt in the provost office. And that's again, the HR and research data and finance data, it's a little stronger place, in our current warehouse. But it was when we started to validate the student data sets back when we were first building this out. And if we went to one of the schools and, wanted to say, hey, this is what we see as your student FTE count, then we would, meet like, well, that's not our number. But that's what we have in our central system. And so that's where we got hung up. And again, we're like, we're trying to create one version of the truth. And they're like, this is my truth. You go do you. And so we just made a misstep there. And so we're definitely moving forward. It's going to be a partnership driven by, the provost office with us as their technical partner. And, I'm excited about it too, because they're coming to the table with some funding and hope to really address a lot of the need for the fragmented data silos. Like, I'm not trying to throw shade on them. They had to create those data silos because we were not giving what they needed. We were not able to give them a quick way to marry all this data together. So they were downloading a spreadsheet and they were doing this and creating. So we want to make sure that we're able to start having some success stories so we get their buy-in and then, partner with them moving forward on our strategy. But a lot hangs on the ERP because, regardless of which platform we choose, there's the foundational data model is going to change either way. New chart of accounts, we've got to standardize, lots of cleanup. I know nobody has a problem with data cleanup, but so there's a lot of work there, but this is the time to do it. So that's why everything's sort of tracking in the same direction when it comes to our data strategy.
And you make actually a good point, because I think sometimes what we fail to realize, or some fail to realize, like, this is hard work, right? So, and it doesn't happen overnight. And so sometimes you have to have those quick, low-hanging fruit wins, right? To kind of build that momentum to keep this thing going. Because if you don't, then people get disinterested and then it just falls apart, which has happened on our campus quite a few times. So you make a really good point. I just want to make that.
Yeah, it gets the buy-in and they realize, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to go and email all those people anymore. I can just go to this verified data set of admissions data, so that's going to be our first sort of big win for campus will be an admissions data set and I forget the acronym for the reporting that again was very manual and we're able to automate it and so that that team and the group that used to pull this together won't have to do that anymore.
And, Dana, you mentioned working with the units and bringing all of the admissions data together. I just lost my thought. Hold, please. So thinking about, lost it again. Hang on. Give me a reminder. What did you just say?
Working with the business as a partner. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one that does this, Susan. So you're making me feel better.
No, doing it on a recorded webinar. So, so you mentioned earlier, like coming to folks to get buy-in, thinking about not approaching them saying you're at fault or you are the problem because there are data silos. What we try and communicate is that there's a reasonable everyone makes rational decisions for themselves in the moment.
Absolutely.
And so we have these silos, we have these unique systems that are specific for an industry. So for example, the business school probably makes a lot more money than the other schools. They want to move faster. Okay, cool. How can we support them moving faster, but still have some sort of tie back to central so that there's that continuity? I've just really, over the past couple of years, realized when I first joined my first campus, I was appalled with the data environment and how it was so siloed. But it's like that everywhere because a campus is so large and it has its own unique industries with housing, dining, utilities, power. They have their own unique systems that they utilize in those industries. So then it just kind of built up these silos. So I think it's a rational place that we're in because it's just a reasonable evolution. But now trying to fix that or to create opportunities for collaboration and tying back to central, I think is what's challenging.
Right. And then, add to the challenge of just getting access to the data they need. And now everyone is wanting to use AI. And so that's sort of giving the second amount of impetus to everyone to sort of really be able to buy into a master data management program so that we have very clear, plans for what we are considered the institutional data, whatever it is that we're going to make available for people to use. So it really has shifted the momentum for sure.
Hey, I'm going to turn to you. Okay. I'm going to read the question in the chat. It says, it sounds like you're getting interest from non-technical colleagues, distributed units, and executive peers about the need to address data management as a foundation for everyone's needs. Do you think they're seeing your involvement as a utility or as a strategic partner or both?
I'll jump in and say, I think that we have shifted from being a utility to a strategic partner. And again, some of the success stories that we've had on the healthcare side have created, huge cost savings for them. And so we can start replicating those stories to help because we're all, if you're in higher ed, have any federal funding, we're all looking for ways to, save money. And so, spending on work, whether it be effort or tools, resources, when we can automate that and, have your staff working on something else that's more important, those partnerships are starting to sort of, just bubble up. And that's why we're able to sort of really be at the table with them. And, again, it kind of ties back to also being able to give that win, that first successful win. And so, we're hoping that the admissions success will give us some traction to, keep pushing for other areas in, student success that will help them not have to, because that's another sort of bucket of data that student success is defined by so many different, you mentioned housing and campus life, and that data is everywhere. And so to be able to pull that together for that staff that's focused on those metrics would be a game changer too. So yeah, I think we've shifted from being, instead of just the technical data warehouse team that you just toss over when you need someone to sort of build out a schema for you. It is, we are at the table having the conversation around the need now and where we see that need going in the future. So I'm happy about that. And I think that a lot of our leadership changes have helped too, because everybody's coming in ready to consider the possible instead of how we've always done it.
Mm.
Yeah, and I'll say for our institution, for a while they were probably with the utility. I think we've transitioned to strategic partner. And I think it really happened when the system itself went to this performance funding model where really meeting the metrics of whether it's retention and graduation was really important that we had the numbers right. And what we found as we kind of started going down this path on reporting to the system, that we really had inconsistent definitions for the same type of metric. And so it really was a lot of folks spending a lot of hours trying to reconcile each other's metrics or how things were measured, what data was being used, and it was taking hours and it was inconsistent. And it was just ugly. And really it turned to, hey, IT, how can you help us as a partner get a handle on this? And then that's when we started having those non-technical folks really reaching out and bringing us to the table. Have a lot of work more to do, but I would put us in the category of strategic partner at this point.
Yeah. Well, with the amount of time we have left, I was going to ask, what are your strategies and advice for folks who are starting out on this path? I think, Hector, yours will be kind of thinking about the future and what you hope for the program and what you see happening, and what you've experienced over the past 3 years you were talking about. And Dana, for you, what would you recommend to other leaders around data and data governance? And as you are in the, as we're in the age of AI and or have been, but it's just really pressing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll start by just saying to treat modernization almost like an operating model change and not just a technology purchase or a project, right? Yes, those platforms matter, but it really is about the ownership, the process, building trust, literacy, which we talked a little bit about, and the accountability piece. I guess the other thing I'll say too, and I've said it, don't let IT do it alone. It is supposed to be an institutional type of priority, right? Regardless of the area, student affairs, institutional research, I mean, HR goes across the board. So I think what I would say is, more access without understanding really kind of creates more risk. And so I think that's what I would leave you as we kind of close today.
I'm gonna say the operating model is really interesting because we don't hear folks talk about that a lot in terms of a new way of working, because you have this, all right, we want to start with this one data set and it's going to be the institutional data set. But then there are all these questions around who owns it, and does IR own it, or does the XYZ office own it? And that's where those questions about operating and how we're going to move forward is really important. So I very much appreciate that advice for sure.
Yeah, the one thing that, and again, I touched on it a little bit with our intake process. When I spoke earlier, I was speaking specifically to AI, but we're also thinking about how we can get our arms around just technology in general. So we have an internal audit risk of third-party, offboarding. Like we have relationships with third parties. Do we have an offboarding process that that we are following for those things that are not supported by central IT? So back to our decentralized tools in schools, we have 9 of them. They have their own IT shops in each of those schools, and we have relationships with them. But even within some of those schools, they don't have visibility into all of the technologies that's being used. So one of the things that we're doing is considering, we're calling it right now a technology registration process, so that if it meets a certain criteria, you need to register it. We need to know about it. We need to know what, and it sort of flows through that same AI intake framework, where if it's got sensitive data, if it goes down a different path, so that we have that visibility into what type of data is being stored or passing through whatever that application is. The thing that I would call out, and this is where we made a mistake initially, is that we need to really have governance embedded in native workflows like that. So you should integrate, policy checks directly into those intake processes, directly into your project management routines, analytics development life cycles, making sure governance is really seen more like as an enabler rather than a roadblock. So like it's just part of that function. When I was chatting with our chief data analytics officer and, asking him about like what he would say, and he's like, you need to make sure you're governing across 4 pillars that structure AI and data governance holistically across application, model, data, and infrastructure, rather than just viewing governance as, only it's just data, or AI simply as a standalone tool. It needs to be across all 4 of those pillars. I think you touched on, I would say, to be able to balance innovation and governance, it needs to be business-led, technology-enabled. So that gets back to that strategic partner, treat governance decisions as business enablement decisions, and then use the technology platforms as really just an enforcement rather than, a business driver. So that's one point. And then one of our big takeaways was that we plan to, this go around, equip our teams with practical playbooks, so that we provide, when we're bringing business units, their data sets in, we give them lightweight templates, RACI charts, standard operating procedures, so that the compliance becomes straightforward and it can be repeatable across all of these decentralized teams. So we're not trying to centralize anything. We want to still allow everybody to have their autonomy, but we all share this central concern around data management and data protection. So I think those are my main ones.
So making the right choice, the easy choice.
Right.
I think we have a question in the chat from John. Hey, John. Hey, back. All of you have spoken about the cultural change you're leading to make this possible. Are you seeing or leading culture changes or culture change beyond data governance as this shifts? I bet, Hector, you might have an interesting perspective, since you're a chief operating officer and have more than technology in your portfolio.
Yeah, I think what I would say is the mentality is shifting from the data being owned by an individual or one office to it's an institutional asset. And I won't say it's breaking down all silos, but it is encouraging, I think, better transparency both on the academic and administrative side of the house, and having earlier conversations on what that means. So we are building a culture where I think people are feeling more comfortable asking questions or even examining the data and trying to understand what it's telling us, and then making adjustments, right? Whether they're favorable or not. So I think we are seeing a shift. I think we have a lot more to go, but maybe I'm just asking for too much too fast. But I think the broader cultural change really is about kind of that shared ownership, that trust, and I'll go back to the point I made about accountability. So
we're definitely seeing a shift also, because we're those silos, where people had the data that they needed, they would just be functioning in their own, in their own world. They had their data. Now they're coming to us asking, like, how can we be part of this program? Because again, I think it gets back to the risk, that they want to share and make sure they're wanting to do the right thing and be accountable and responsible with Emory's data. I think that that understanding has shifted the culture also, where they're seeking us out for partnership, where before we were having to go to them. And so I think that's a very positive move for culture for sure.
Yeah. We have a few minutes if anyone has additional questions. You can also fill the time if needed. All right. Doesn't look like we have any more questions. Is there anything else, panelists, Dana and Hector, you'd like to share that you don't feel like you were able to throughout the conversation?
I just hope that I didn't come across. We're very optimistic. We're kind of standing on the cusp of new ERP. We get to start, basically rebuilding our foundational data model, which will drive, quite a bit of our analytics in a unified data platform. I think that the risk framework at Emory has really sort of the awareness, and it's really not even we do have an enterprise risk management department that I think has helped a considerable amount. So that's another takeaway. If you don't have someone that is sponsoring you at an enterprise level, because it's not just IT saying we have these risks. We have an objective group that comes in, works with us, helps us gather support and from all of the stakeholders, even outside, of our organization. So we've been really lucky there, and I think that program is responsible for a lot of the awareness around risk and why we have more participation, in data governance. So, I just wanted to leave everyone with, we're excited. I know that anything around data is not easy in higher ed, but it's so important. So the work that all of you that are participating, if you're in this webinar, you're here because you're interested in how to modernize your data as well. So it's not an easy job, but it's so important, all the work that you do. And I certainly value all those at Emory that are supporting us and working with us as partners.
Yeah, I'd echo the same sentiments as you, Dana. I think it's a journey for sure. I know it sounds, at least for my institution, we're in a bad place, but we were in a better place than we were a few years ago. And I think taking those small incremental steps has been good. I mean, sometimes we feel like we want to sprint, but I think we do recognize that some of this work is like a marathon. You just have to keep chugging at it. Eventually we'll get there. I think the AI element is forcing us to move a little bit faster than we probably normally would, which maybe is a good thing. Maybe we need that push. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But it is a journey, and I'm sure you all are experiencing that in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you for organizing us, Susan.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you both for participating. It's been a joy to work with you. Thank you again. And thank you to everyone who attended. At Vantage, we work with universities across the country on issues like these. And if something we said today, anything that Hector and Dana said today is interesting to you, you want to talk about it, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to brainstorm solutions with you, and that's whether you work with us or not. We like helping. So thank you so much for joining. Lene.
All right. Thank you so much on behalf of EDUCAUSE. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you also to Susan, Dana, and Hector. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed the webinar. Before you sign off today, please click on the session evaluation link found in the chat window. Your comments really are very important to us. Thank you so much. That concludes today's webinar, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.